Hey you guys, it's me, Anne-Marie, Bold Girl Will Travel, and I'm here to share 10 solo travel mistakes for you to avoid. So, a little bit about me. I am on a mission to demystify solo travel for Black women over 40 and to encourage all of us to pursue solo travel as self-care. So if that's of interest to you, please subscribe, comment, and share this video with a friend. So you guys know I just got back from over 6 weeks in Europe. I visited Portugal and I visited Italy, and I've shared some videos so you can check those out, and I'll be sharing some blog posts and more videos about my travels around Portugal and Italy. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the mistakes that I made, not on just on this trip, but mistakes that I've made in solo travel that I'd like to help you avoid. And there are 10 of them. So I'm going to share those 10 mistakes with you so that you can try to avoid them. And I will leave a link in the description where you can read the full blog post on this topic. So, number 1, posting your whereabouts in real time. Don't. This is something I'm guilty of doing and I will be doing less of in the future. I think it's really important to share what I'm doing with my followers, especially my followers who are over 40 and interested in solo travel. But one of the things that you shouldn't do is to post where you are in real time, especially information about where you're staying. And one of the things I don't do is share a lot of information about where I'm staying while I'm staying there. But now I'm thinking about not even sharing information about what country I'm in until I leave. Just for security reasons, it's best to not do that, because as you know, your followers grow, more people get to know you or think they're getting to know you, and then creepy things can happen. So it's best to avoid sharing your exact location and especially any information about where you're staying on social media until after you've left the location or even after you've returned. For me, I usually do it, and I will be doing it going forward after I leave a location. Mistake number 2. Pay attention to your stuff all the time. Don't get distracted. So on this trip, there are a couple instances where I could have very well lost my carry-on suitcase because I got a little distracted. For example, I was in the airport and it was a very long line to check in. And I realized that I could check in at the self-service kiosk. So I got out of the line, went to the self-service kiosk to check in, get my boarding pass, hoping that I would then be able to get on a shorter line to just drop my bag off, because by the end of my trip, I had actually picked up a bag to bring back some things that I'd bought while I was in Europe. So I get to the self-service kiosk and I do the check-in thing and I get the tag for the bag, and then I walk back to the line. And I'm on the line for about 60 seconds when I realize I don't have one of my bags. And the bag that I don't have is the bag that has all my electronics and important stuff. It's my carry-on bag. So I have to get off the line and go run back to the kiosk where thankfully the bag was still sitting there. And then I had to get back on the line. The lady who was behind me was nice enough to let me get back on the line in front of her so that I didn't have to go all the way to the back of the line. But someone could have easily walked up right behind me and took my bag, and that would have been a disaster. So just getting distracted and a little frazzled for just a second can be disastrous when you're traveling solo, because you don't have anybody to watch your stuff for you. So you got to really keep an eye on your things. So really, you got to pay attention. There was another time where I literally left my bag for 10 minutes at a bar because I had my dog with me and my dog was in the carrier, and I grabbed the carrier and my purse and forgot my carry-on suitcase. So it's really important to not get frazzled, and especially to pay attention to where your cell phone and your passport are at all times. Luckily, in both instances, my cell phone and my passport were in a waist belt right on my person, so I would not have lost either of those things. But my electronics, my laptop, other items that were very important to me that I had in my carry-on, my sound canceling headphones, all those things I could have lost because I left them in my carry-on at the bar and walked away. So don't get distracted. Pay attention to your things. One of the things that I try to do is when I'm getting ready to get out of taxi, when I'm walking away from getting something to eat in the airport, I stop for a minute and I try to look around and make sure I have all my things. And anytime that I don't do that, something bad happens. So in this instance, I was hurrying and I wasn't paying attention and could have been disastrous. So make sure you keep track of your things. Don't get distracted. Make sure you keep your passport and your cell phone on your person at all times when you're traveling so that you know where it is. So even if you misplace something else, you will always have those two things with you because you will need them if you lose your carry-on or something like that. Sorry, but I'm on the rooftop in my home office and my next door neighbor's dog is barking. So we're just gonna push through and ignore the dog if you can hear him. He does that sometimes. Number 3, invest in VPN to safeguard your location, especially if you're using open or free Wi-Fi. One of the things that I try to avoid doing all the time is using free Wi-Fi. I know a lot of people like to go to Starbucks and other places like that and use the free internet. It's something that I avoid. But if I'm in the airport or somewhere like that and I have to use the free Wi-Fi, I always make sure that I activate a VPN so that I don't have to worry about someone hacking my phone. There are multiple ways and types of VPNs that you can use. I like to use NordVPN, but ExpressVPN is another one that people talk about a lot. At the end of the day, you should just use the VPN that you feel most comfortable with, but I do recommend using a VPN and not just using free Wi-Fi without one. Number 4, buy the travel insurance. If you follow me, you've heard me talk about travel insurance a bunch of times. I have written about it in blog posts. I always recommend it, and I'm recommending it here. I think it's a big mistake to not buy travel insurance if you're going to be traveling. So it's an expense that you should build into your budget. Buy the travel insurance. There's so many things that can go wrong when you're traveling, not just missing a flight, having a flight canceled, losing your luggage. You can get sick, you could fall, you could have something else happen, and you would want to be reimbursed for some of those costs. So for that reason alone, I highly recommend buying the travel insurance. I like World Nomad, but there are lots of other travel insurance besides that. I'm not necessarily recommending any specific one. I'm just sharing the one that I use. But I do recommend that you do your own homework and you buy some travel insurance, okay? Number 5, keep a low profile. Don't stand out, blend in as much as possible. Especially when you're traveling by yourself, I think it's important to try to be low key. And that doesn't mean you can't go out and have fun. I like to do photo shoots a lot when I am traveling, but I usually will book an Airbnb experience photographer and have a day where I get dressed up and get cute and take pictures. But generally when I'm out and about sightseeing and things like that, I try to be super, super low key. I generally do not wear expensive jewelry when I'm traveling, especially to low income countries. I do like nice handbags and purses, but depending on where I'm going, I might leave those at home as well and just carry something nondescript. I think it's important to try not to stand out. As you know, I'm bald, so I stand out a lot. So sometimes I'll wear a head wrap, I'll wear a baseball cap, just because I want to be low profile depending on where I am. So I think it's important to go have a good time, but try not to be too flashy, too over the top, especially if you're traveling by yourself. I think you can be more rah-rah when you're on a girls trip with your other friends, but I think when you're on your own, it's better to stay low key. Number 6, plan to arrive and depart in daytime hours. This is a big one, especially for women solo travelers. I almost never allow myself to arrive or depart in a destination at night, especially if it's a place I've never been, because anything can happen and I don't want to be navigating, getting a ride from the airport, dealing with an Uber driver and all that stuff at 11, 12 o'clock at night. So generally speaking, I time my flights so that I am arriving where I'm going in daylight hours. Same time thing for when I'm checking out and leaving. I usually will do that. If I can't avoid it, like for example, if I find a flight that's so good that I can't pass it up, then I will arrange to stay at a hotel overnight and check into my Airbnb the next day. But I generally do not like to arrive at Airbnbs late at night. And I tend to make arrangements for a car to pick me up if I'm going to arrive late at night. I usually won't use an Airbnb. Instead, I'll use a car service of some kind. Booking has a good service where you can book a car to pick you up. And there are other services that you can use where you can pre-arrange. You also, if you're staying at a hotel, you can ask about the hotel's transfer services. Now, some of these things can get pricey, but I don't really put a price on my personal safety. So as much as possible, I try not to arrive late at night or to depart late at night. But if I have to, then I take other precautions to ensure my personal safety. Now, number 7, have a security plan. You guys follow me, you know I talk a lot about security while on solo travel. I worked for over 15 years in international development, and I was responsible for overseeing security for, hundreds and sometimes thousands of people. So I know a lot about global security, and I take it very seriously in my personal security. I think it's important to have a security plan. And when I talk about security plan, I'm basically saying have a plan for, who's going to be in touch with you while you're gone, who's going to be aware of where you are at all times. I believe in the idea of having a check-in buddy, somebody that you keep in contact with, who knows where you are, who has access to your itinerary. I also recommend having your itinerary in electronic form so that someone can access it, checking in with someone several times a day so people, at least one person or more, knows where you are. So if something goes wrong or you fall off the grid, someone will notice. I've written a guide about travel safety and security for female solo travelers. I'll put a link in the description. I give a lot of detailed information on this topic there, and I highly, highly recommend that you have a security plan. Number 8, do your homework on your destination. Now, when I say homework, I'm not just talking about good restaurants and great bars and cool things to see and fun things to do. I'm talking about doing your homework about cultural and social norms, appropriate dress, mobility things, the climate, safety, good neighborhoods to stay in, and so on. Do your homework, right? So that there are no surprises when you arrive, right? For example, I went to Cinque Terre, Italy back in, I think it was 2018, and I went with a friend. I knew nothing about it, and I didn't Google it or anything. She told me it was beautiful. I believed her. We went, and I didn't like it very much. The reason being is that Cinque Terre means 5 towns. Those 5 towns are up in the mountains. All you were doing up there was climbing steps and climbing hills. It was beautiful when you look down, but it was a lot. And I got there not prepared in my mind to be climbing hills and climbing mountains and climbing, steep staircases. And I didn't enjoy myself very much because I wasn't prepared, because I hadn't done my homework. On the different note, when I went to Jordan for a business trip, I spent a lot of time reading about, the cultural norms, social norms, appropriate dress, things like that. And so I knew how to behave, what to wear, things to do, places to go, to ensure that I enjoyed my visit and that I had a good time. So I really recommend not just doing like research about places to eat and things to see and things like that, but do a little homework about, social mores and cultural norms. So again, you don't stand out like a sore thumb, you don't make yourself a target, and you're respectful to the community that you're visiting, right? Number 9, get some familiarity with the local language. I think this is important. I'm not saying that you need to go learn the language of every place that you visit, but I think it's good to know some basic words that you can communicate in when you go to a country, right? So things like just learning how to say thank you, please, good morning, good afternoon, can you help me? Where is the bathroom, right? Those things are important things to know in any language. And so what I usually do is I download Google Translate offline in the language so that even if I don't have Wi-Fi, I still have access to translation on my phone. And I just save these basic phrases on my phone so that I can just do basic communication. I live, as many of you know, in Mexico, and I also travel a lot, and I'm planning to do a lot of travel around Latin America, this summer as well as in the next years or so. So I'm really working really hard on learning Spanish. But until I feel like I'm really fluent, I always like keep Google Translate in Spanish on my phone offline so that I can always access it. I also have a guide that I put together, which you can also find on my website, of common phrases in Spanish that I use as well. I always have it on my phone so that I know how to say a lot of different things in Spanish really quickly when I need to. And it's also helped me a lot as I'm learning to become fluent in the language. But I think it's really important. When I went to Portugal, I downloaded phrases in Portuguese. When I went to Italy, I download phrases in Italian. I'm planning a trip to several countries in Africa. I'm planning to download phrases in French because some of the countries speak French. And some of them I'm going to be looking at what the local language is that I can just download basic phrases. Yes, a lot of times people speak English, but I don't feel I have any right to expect that. So I try to get some kind of familiarity with the local language when I'm traveling. And then number 10, the last one is take some time to just enjoy where you are. I think a lot of us, especially if those of us very active on social media, forget sometimes to just take a deep breath and just enjoy the moment. Everything doesn't have to be shared on the gram. Everything doesn't have to be shared with the world. Save some things for yourself. Put the phone down, put the camera down, sit down, look around you, really enjoy where you are, enjoy your experience. So those are my 10 mistakes that I would like you to avoid when you go on solo travel. Some of them I have made myself, and I will be trying to avoid making them in the future. And I'm hoping that now you know about them, that you'll avoid them too. So go book that trip. The world is waiting for you. See you on the next video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.